Hello, my friends. How are you doing today? It's a beautiful Monday morning. The sun's going to be shining. It's going to be colder than, it's winter, so it's going to be cold. At least here in Utah, it's cold. We keep on hearing the promise of snow, or the threat of snow, as I like it. But thankfully, we have not had any major snow yet, at least where I live. I don't know about the rest. And it's been just been really cold. So I'm hoping for those that love the snow that they will have their snow for Christmas. I know where my mom and brother live in Pocatello. They got a lot of snow this last week, enough to where my mom called to find out what happened to the ice melt that they had. This is the second time they've done that, so we'll see if it stays there or what happens to it. So they're getting snow up there. They can keep it up there. I'll be happy if it just rains all winter. And snows in the higher altitudes. So today we're going to be talking about another point of the true church. This one is number 6. The true church must have no paid authority. Now, funny thing is one time I was, I think it was on Facebook. It was years ago. And all these Christians were saying that they're Bible believing. And I asked them, how come they have paid ministers? And they're like, well, they need to be focused on primarily on the preaching of the ministry. And I said, but it's not biblical that they get paid. And they're like, well, things are different now. Well, no, it's not different. An apostle, or I'd say the general body of leaders, and I'm talking about like stake presidents, most of the 70s, bishops, all of them are, even our elders quorums, they're not paid. Not one dime do they receive. Now, I've heard all sorts of outlandish things like bishops are given $1 million a year for their support. And I'm like, no, they don't. But, I could understand that. Understand why they think that. The bishop is given a budget, but it's for the church, not for himself. And I would like to talk about today about what the scriptures have to say. So, starting with the Bible, we'll start in Isaiah. Now, let's go all the way here. So we're going to go to Isaiah 45, and we're going to go to verse 13. And I have raised him up in righteousness, and I will direct all his ways. He shall build my city, and he shall let go my captives, not for price nor reward, saith the Lord of hosts. Now, that's the Old Testament. But what does the New Testament have to say? Well, let's start with 1 Corinthians number 9. This is Paul, the Apostle Paul talking. And he's talking about the reward of preaching the gospel. Verse 17 and 18. For if I do these things willingly, I have a reward. But if my will, a dispensation of the gospel is committed unto me. What is my reward then? Verily, that when I preach the gospel, I may make the gospel of Christ without charge. They don't get paid. That I abuse not my power in the gospel. So when Paul was out and about, He had to rely on his own dime. He wasn't paid at all. Okay? Now, let's look at another one. This is in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 2. Feed the flock of God, which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind. And here, Paul's calling the money filthy. There have never, when there's the Church of God, there's never paid ministry. In fact, we see that in the Book of Mormon as well. Nephi twice talks about how there should be no paid ministers. In fact, in Mosiah chapter 18, and bring this over, verse 23. Oh, not verse 23. Okay, so 26. Oh, here it is, verse 26. It says, "And the priests were not to depend upon the people for their support, but for their labor. They were to receive the grace of God, that they might wax strong in the Spirit, having the knowledge of God, that they might teach with power and authority from God." So now I know there's some of you who are asking, well, what about the 12 apostles and first presidency? They are they're not paid, if you want to consider it that. They're compensated. They live the law of consecration fully. The church gives them enough to afford food and flights. They don't live a lavish lifestyle. They don't own a home. Everything they have is supplied to them by the church, because that is their calling, is 100%. Where the average minister, they can go out and work. The apostles travel the earth, preaching the gospel, dedicating temples, church houses, consecrating new lands for the preaching of the gospel. And I know it sounds similar, but it's not. The minister has time to go out, work a regular job, and still be able to study. And you look at our bishops. Bishops are basically the same position as a minister. They lead a local congregation. They go out, they have a regular job, they meet with other local church leaders within the ward boundaries, within the stake presidency, all throughout the week. But yet they don't receive a single dime. So, paid ministers, time to get a job. That seems rude, oh well. But it's not good that someone who claims to preach the Word of God gets paid. Never in the Bible, the Book of Mormon, or Doctrine and Covenants will it ever show, and I challenge anyone to go and find a time when someone was paid for their services. When were you paid for your funeral services or your marriage? I had a friend who was getting married and said, the minister's charging a lot of money. I'm like, wait, they charge to marry you? And like, yeah. And I told him how in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, how we marry people for free. The only stipulation is that one of them must be a member of that ward. That's the only stipulation. And I've heard rumors of people who weren't members of that particular ward that got married, but that's only rumors. So, so the second or the sixth point of the true church is no paid ministry. Everyone should work for their own money. All right, so I gotta go. It's gonna be a busy day here at work, and so I need to get busy. So I will talk to you guys later, and you guys have a great weekend or great Monday, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Remember, I love you, I pray for you, and I hope that some of the things I'm saying touches your heart and makes you think about what is being said. And you guys have a great day.